Hello and welcome to Canguro English. My name is Christian and today is Thursday, the best day of the week. And today I am going to answer one of the most important questions in linguistics in the past century, which is, how will Baby Yoda speak? Now, if you don't know, there is a new television series called The Mandalorian, and it's a Star Wars television series, and in this television series there is a character called the Child, who appears to be Baby Yoda. And if not Baby Yoda, it's a baby of the same species as Yoda. And the burning question, the question that everybody wants to know is, when Baby Yoda speaks, how will Baby Yoda speak? Because you know that Yoda has this very strange and unusual way of constructing sentences, which is not using the standard English way. And before you think that this is a trivial question, let me just remind you that it isn't. For example, the American linguist Lisa Davidson, she wrote an entire article on Slate about this. And someone even emailed Noam Chomsky to ask him about Baby Yoda word order. And he replied, in typical Chomsky style, "Never heard of Baby Yoda, I'm afraid." Now, you might think that this is an unimportant question in the world of linguistics, but it's actually not, because it asks some questions that are really at the center of this big debate about whether language is something that's innate or whether language is something that we learn from the people around us, from culture. And what the question is, because in the series Yoda is spending so much time with people who are speaking Galactic Basic. So Galactic Basic is the basically American English in Star Wars, okay? So the question is, will he speak using a Galactic Basic kind of word order and structures, or does he have some sort of innate Yoda language structure? So it is actually a really important question. But before we can talk about Baby Yoda, we need to talk about Big Yoda, adult Yoda. And there's been various attempts to explain why Yoda speaks the way he does. Like, how exactly does it work? For example, David Adger suggested that it could be due to something called transfer. So whatever his native language is, it has this kind of unusual structure. So when he speaks English, when he speaks Galactic Basic, he puts the words in the same order as his native language. And a more complicated explanation he tweeted recently was, you need to evacuate something from the predicate phase, an object, a PP, a V, an AP, or the whole VP pred P. Then there's optional T to C movement, and negation has a weird placement. Good luck understanding that if you don't have a degree in linguistics. There's also been some attempts by the people over at LanguageLog. For example, Jeff Pullum and Mark Lieberman did, a kind of thorough analysis of the Yoda syntax, talking about substrings and constituent clauses and how it possibly could work. But there's one underlying thing that is behind all of these analyses, and that is that something is not quite right. There's no one rule. Yoda seems to use this rule, but then he breaks it in other times. So nobody has been able to explain how exactly this Yoda syntax works. And I was actually really surprised when I was reading all of these analyses that nobody saw what to me was immediately obvious. And maybe the reason is that a lot of these people are linguists. So they're looking at the language in a very analytical way. They are trying to explain the how. But because I'm not a linguist, because I'm an English teacher, when I look at the syntax, I don't really want to know the how, I want to know the why. Because the why is what I have to explain to students every day. So first, let's talk a little bit about Yoda kind of syntax in general. So now, Galactic Basic uses, in general, subject, verb, object, word order, just like English. So for example, you would say, I eat pizza. Subject, verb, object. Now, interestingly, this is not the most common word order on planet Earth. It's only used in about a third of the languages that we've studied. Actually, the most common word order, which is used in about half of languages in the world, is subject, object, verb. So we would say, I, pizza, eat. This is the most common here on our planet. And then after that we have verb, subject, object. So we would say eat, pizza, eat, I, pizza, verb, subject, object. Then we have object, verb, subject. So we have pizza, eat, I. And finally, the most rare on planet Earth is object, subject, verb, which would be object, pizza, subject, and verb. Pizza, I eat. Now, does that sound familiar? Pizza, I eat. This is how Yoda speaks. Now, on Earth, this type of word order is really only found in the Amazon basin. It is extremely uncommon. So we could say, with quite a great deal of certainty, that if this Yoda effect is caused by transfer from a native language, it's probably not an Earth language, right? It's probably Yodish. But if we actually look at this word order, there's a couple of interesting things to know about what Yoda does. So the first thing is that even though Yoda kind of prefers pizza, I eat, he doesn't always use this. Sometimes he breaks this object, subject, verb rule. For example, he says, agree with you, the council does. So you'll notice here actually the verb is at the beginning of the sentence. And another thing, there was an analysis by a guy called Drew Stewart, who compiled a spreadsheet of every single line of dialogue that Yoda spoke in the original trilogy and also the prequel trilogy of films. And he analyzed how often Yoda used this strange word order and how often he used a more standard English word order. And in the original trilogy, he spoke in a weird way 48% of the time. So what that means is that 52% of the time, he speaks in a normal word order. And this brings me to my analysis and my conclusions about Yoda and also about Baby Yoda. Yoda speaks the way he does, not because he is constrained by his native language or by some innate structures in the brain. He speaks this way because he chooses to. Now, in English, we have this preferred word order, I eat pizza. And if we decide to change the order of the words, pizza I eat I pizza, if we decide to do this, it creates an effect. And when we move something to the beginning of a sentence, this is called topicalization. It's a very common phenomenon well documented, well studied. So basically, because in English we have in our minds left to right, we read left to right. We also have been proven that when we think about size and syllables in words, we also think from left to right. We're a left to right brain people, the Anglo-Saxon speakers, right? So when we move something to the front, it's more important. It has more emphasis. It has more So the reason that Yoda puts things in a weird order is not because of some rule, because of some syntax. He does it because that is where he wants to put the emphasis. Let's look at some specific examples. He says, always two there are, no more. Where's the emphasis? On the always two. Truly wonderful the mind of a child is. Where's our emphasis? Truly wonderful. Much to learn you still have. Again, putting it at the front. Agree with you, the council does. It's about agreeing, emphasis on agreeing. Lost a planet, Master Obi-Wan has. Okay? What Yoda is doing is he is deliberately moving the important information to the beginning because he knows that for galactic basic speakers, this has a profound effect. And he is a 900-year-old, highly intelligent Jedi Master. He is not putting things in the wrong order because he's not capable. After 900 years, it's highly unlikely that a fluent speaker of another language would still continue to put things in the wrong order. You don't find that even after 5 or 10 years, let alone 900 years. And it tells us something about the psychology of language, the way that language works. We can't just look at language with an analytical point of view. We have to look at language as a whole. How the psychology works, how the speakers feel when they hear something. It's not enough just to write it out as a formula. So my prediction is that the highly intelligent Baby Yoda, when he does speak his first words, he will put the important stuff first. I hope you enjoyed this Baby Yoda analysis. My name is Christian, this is Canguro English, and I'll see you in class.